The other side.
Boss atakapa?
Boss.
I think it's the other side.
Also sie wollen irgendwie das...
Sema huku hiyo.
Das hier auch haben. Oder du auch haben. Kann da Bendera tunasema.
So what you're saying is actually going down. Tumesindikiza hao mpaka kwa gari. Yes. That is the direction. That's the direction. Because Two.
And then both speaks from here. We have to speak from here.
At the podium, yeah.
We have to stand a little behind him. Yes, a little. I agree with you, Pierre. Yes, like our delegation. Yeah. Just to flank them, not nearby. No, see, like, how
Ladies and gentlemen, let us now be attention and welcome His Excellency Dr. Musalia Mudavadi, Prime Cabinet Secretary and Cabinet Secretary for Foreign Affairs of the Republic of Kenya, and His Excellency Dr. Johan Vadfu, Federal Minister for Foreign Affairs of the Federal Republic of Germany. Karibuni sana, Excellencies. And we will begin by having a few remarks from His Excellency Dr. Mudavadi, and then he will invite his guest also to make some remarks, after which we shall have a brief interaction with the press, just a few Q&A, and finally we will have a group photo with all the guests. Thank you. His Excellency Dr. Mudavadi will now make his speech. Thank you.
Am I audible? Yeah, good. Thank you. Good morning, everybody. Your Excellency, Dr. Johan Vadfu, Federal Minister for Foreign Affairs of the Federal Republic of Germany, distinguished members of the press, ladies and gentlemen, we are pleased to receive His Excellency Dr. Johan Vadfu, the Federal Minister for Foreign Affairs of the Federal Republic of Germany, who is on an official visit to Kenya. He is leading a strong delegation. Kenya greatly appreciates the fact that Germany was among the first countries to recognize our country's independence. We highly value the long-standing diplomatic relations between the two countries, which have continued to strengthen since 1963. Germany is Kenya's fifth largest development partner, with commitments totaling approximately 2.5 billion euro, that is cumulatively, including the more recent one of 153 million euro for climate action, renewable energy, and sustainable agriculture for the period 2022 to 2024. Additionally, KfW and GIZ are supporting key initiatives in Kenya, such as a portfolio of 400 million euros for clean energy initiatives. Presently, over 120 German companies operate in Kenya. Furthermore, in 2024, we executed the comprehensive migration and mobility partnership between our two countries, and this seeks to improve skills development and facilitate structured labor mobility. On behalf of the German Federal Ministry for Economic Cooperation, BMZ, and GIZ is driving the promotion for youth employment and vocational training programs in Kenya. This is in close partnership with the Ministry of Education, the State Department of Technical and Vocational Education and Training, and of course, the Diaspora Department. The program has also successfully launched the dual TVET system and already opened doors to skills training for over 10,000 young Kenyans. This visit is therefore a clear demonstration of the cordial and mutually beneficial relations between our two countries, founded on shared values of democracy, multilateralism, respect for international law, and a common commitment to a just, peaceful, and sustainable global order. Earlier today, we held extensive bilateral discussions aimed at deepening cooperation in key priority areas, including migration and mobility, climate change and renewable energy, peace and security, and multilateral cooperation. And I will repeat this again. We also underscored the importance of the comprehensive Migration and Mobility Partnership Agreement signed by our two countries in September 2024 as a flagship framework for mutually beneficial cooperation. I briefed the Federal Minister on the reforms Kenya has undertaken to strengthen ethical recruitment practices, protect migrant workers, and enhance labor migration governance. Both sides have committed to accelerate the operationalization of this partnership through skills alignment, language training, and efficient administrative processes. On climate action and renewable energy, we welcomed Germany's continued support through the Climate and Development Partnership Framework. We discussed cooperation in geothermal energy, green hydrogen, and Kenya's clean energy transition, noting the strong alignment between Germany's climate diplomacy and Kenya's ambition to achieve 100% clean energy by 2030. Our discussions further covered regional and global peace and security. We exchanged views on situations in Sudan, South Sudan, Somalia, and the Democratic Republic of Congo, and reaffirmed our shared support for African-led peace processes and a coordinated international engagement. At the multilateral level, Kenya and Germany reiterated their strong commitment to a rule-based international order and to strong multilateralism. We agreed on the need for meaningful reforms to ensure a more inclusive, representative, and effective multilateral system. To this end, I thank His Excellency Dr. Wadepu and the government of the Federal Republic of Germany for continued partnership and constructive engagement. Kenya looks forward to deepening our collaboration for the mutual benefit of our people and in support of regional and global stability. It is now my pleasure to invite His Excellency Dr. Johann Wadephol, Federal Minister for the Foreign Affairs of the Federal Republic of Germany, to make his remarks. Thank you, Mr. Minister.
Thank you so much, Jambo. Habari Senu. I hope you feel well. We feel very comfortable here, and thank you for the warm welcome and the great hospitality you have shown to us. It's really a privilege to be here, and I would like, dear colleague, dear Musalia, to thank you personally for the warm welcome. It's my first visit, my first time to be in Kenya, and I can already say it is a good time to be among friends. Kenya is a key partner in Africa, in East Africa for us. Our diplomatic relations go way back. Germany was the first country to recognize Kenya as an independent state, as you rightly mentioned. It was in 1963. A young boy called Johann was also born. Our partnership has steadily grown closer ever since. Yet, there is significant potential to deepen our relation even further. Musalia and I agreed on deepening our political dialogue on key questions of regional and international stability. Kenya plays a key mediator role in the region and shoulders significant responsibility for peace and security in Somalia and in Haiti. We also spoke about how to unlock unused potential in our trade and investment relations. This is particularly true in the field of renewables, green hydrogen, infrastructure, and agriculture. I want to see more German business invest in Kenya, which is why I brought a business delegation with me. Skilled migration, vocational training, and digitization are further topics of mutual interest we spoke about. Please allow me now to continue in German. Seit der schon erwähnten kenianischen Unabhängigkeit steht Deutschland eng an der Seite der Kenianerinnen und Kenianer. In über 60 Jahren haben wir unsere Beziehungen auf ein sehr gutes, solides Fundament gestellt. Längst geht es dabei nicht nur um Entwicklungszusammenarbeit. Deutschland und Kenia arbeiten auf der gesamten Bandbreite diplomatischer Beziehungen eng und vertrauensvoll zusammen. Und zugleich wandelt sich die Welt immer rasanter. Die regelbasierte internationale Ordnung steht massiv unter Druck. Instabilität, Klimawandel und Gesundheitskrisen sind grenzüberschreitende Herausforderungen. In dieser Welt im Umbruch brauchen wir einander, denn nur gemeinsam können wir die großen Herausforderungen angehen. Kenia ist ein echtes Schwergewicht, politisch wie wirtschaftlich, mit einer Führungsrolle weit über Ostafrika hinaus. Deshalb wollen wir unsere Beziehungen weiter vertiefen. Und deshalb ist es auch vollkommen richtig für mich und meine Delegation, heute hier als erster Station in Subsahara-Afrika in Kenia zu sein, auch parallel zu den sicherlich wichtigen Beratungen, die auf dem Weltwirtschaftsforum in Davos gepflegt werden. Wir diskutieren hier nicht über eine Diversifizierung unserer politischen und unserer Handelsbeziehungen. Wir tun das praktisch, und ich danke für den außerordentlich fruchtbaren Austausch. Denn natürlich Wirtschaft und Handel sind das Erste, an das wir denken müssen. Kenia ist der wichtigste Handelspartner für Deutschland in Ostafrika. Rund 120 deutsche Unternehmen sind in Kenia vor Ort präsent. Dennoch ist klar, dass unser gemeinsames Potenzial noch längst nicht ausgeschöpft ist. Insbesondere in den erneuerbaren Energien, Wasserstoff, Gesundheit, Maschinen- und Anlagenbau sowie E-Mobilität sehe ich Möglichkeiten, ja auch Notwendigkeiten der Zusammenarbeit. Aber bei diesen Sektoren macht das wirtschaftliche Kooperationspotenzial nicht Halt. Daher setzt sie setzt sich die Wirtschaftsdelegation, die mich begleitet, aus ganz unterschiedlichen Branchen zusammen. Unser gemeinsames Ziel ist es, dass noch mehr deutsche Unternehmen in Kenia investieren. Das verspricht Wachstumsimpulse und Perspektiven für eine junge Bevölkerung, die immer stärker fordert, über ihre Zukunft mitzubestimmen. Wer über Wirtschaft spricht, der muss auch über Berufsbildung und Fachkräfte sprechen. Mit dem Migrations- und Mobilitätsabkommen, das der liebe Kollege schon erwähnt hat, haben wir den Grundstein für Fachkräfte, Migration und auch für verbesserte Rückführungskooperationen gelegt. Aber hier sind wir auch am einzigen UN-Hauptsitz in der südlichen Hemisphäre. Es ist kein Zufall, dass auch Nairobi ein Hub der Diplomatie ist. Kenia vermittelt in zahlreichen Krisen und Konflikten, wie in der Vergangenheit etwa in Ostkongo und Südsudan. Und ich möchte betonen, ich habe größten Respekt für Kenias Engagement für Frieden und Sicherheit, nicht nur in der eigenen Nachbarschaft, sondern auch als wichtiger Truppensteller der AU-Mission in Somalia. Aber Kenia ist auch größter Truppensteller der UN-Friedensmission in Haiti. Da ziehen
aggression against Ukraine. For example, when it comes to buying bread or at the gas station. So we have a common interest in defending the rules-based international order, regardless of where it is being called into question, in Africa, in Europe, or elsewhere in the world. In turbulent times, Kenya is an anchor of stability. At the same time, climate change has dramatic consequences for Kenya. Devastating droughts are often followed by deadly floods. Conflicts about scarcer resources are exacerbating. And in order to halt tendencies of radicalization, Germany and Kenya have launched the Initiative on Climate Change and the Prevention of Extremism at the Global Counterterrorism Forum. Because one thing is clear, we have a common interest in fighting terrorism and radical extremism that also threatens us in Europe. Musalia, over 60 years of diplomatic relations. In over 60 years of diplomatic relations, we have grown close bonds between our two countries. I'm delighted to be in your beautiful country, and it is great to have such a reliable partner here in Kenya.
Thank you so much.
Asante sana. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Excellencies, for your remarks, which tells the context for this briefing. So we have a few, just with your indulgence, you allow a few questions. The German media team, because they are our guests here, I think we allow them, they have 3 questions, and then we allow the others also to ask questions. So we start, and please introduce yourself, your media organization, and then ask, make a comment. You don't have to ask a question.
Thank you, vielen Dank. Steffen Wurzel vom Deutschlandfunk.
Steffen Wurzel.
Deutschlandfunk.
Wurzel, Deutschlandfunk. Prime Minister, US President Donald Trump installed or announced a so-called Board of Peace.
My question to you is, have you been invited as well? And which role could the African continent and also the African Union play in such a peace board? Und die Frage an den Bundesaußenminister.
Question to the German Foreign Minister, a similar question. Will Germany accept such an offer to join this Board of Peace? And if you're still reflecting, when will a decision be made whether Germany will be part of such a Board of Peace? Thank you.
The first 3, and then we go to another round.
Thank you so much. My name is Elijah Mwangi from Ankabel. My question goes to our Prime Cabinet Secretary, Musalia Mudavadi. Now, look, year 2026 marks 2 years since the labor mobility deal was signed, that we had the Kenya-Germany Labor Migration Conference in 2024. Would you perhaps be in a position to give us the numbers in terms of how many Kenyans have benefited so far from this program? And how is the government striking a balance so that this partnership benefits both economies and we don't have any case of depleting skills in Kenya? Thank you so much.
Thank you. One more.
I'm Steve Otieno for the Daily Nation newspaper in Kenya. I'd love to know what you're doing to resolve the crisis that came mid last year when Germany revoked the immigration policy, and we saw at least 200 immigrants who had come to Kenya on their way to Germany being blocked from going there. Kenya is a hub for refugees, and I believe its fiscal and financial abilities are not as much as Germany. So when they were blocked from going to Germany, how are we going to resolve this in the future so that Kenya does not have that fear that when immigrants come on their way to Germany, they'll be stopped and stranded here in Kenya? Also, just the other question, as is asked, there are critics and experts who are worried about the labor migration on that line of brain drain. How are we going to balance brain drain versus economic reintegration back here in Kenya? Thank you.
Thank you. Excellencies, you may proceed.
Check. Will you start? Yeah.
Okay. Let me start. First, let me just pick up the issue on the peace board. No, we were not invited on that particular initiative. But from our perspective as Kenya, it is important that institutions...
My question goes to our Prime Cabinet Secretary, Musalia Mudavadi. Look, year 2026 marks 2 years since the labor mobility deal was signed, that we had the Kenya-Germany Labor Migration Conference in 2024. Would you perhaps be in a position to give us the numbers in terms of how many Kenyans have benefited so far from this program? And how is the government striking a balance so that this partnership benefits both economies and we don't have any case of depleting skills in Kenya? Thank you so much.
Thank you. One more.
I'm Steve Otieno for the Daily Nation newspaper in Kenya. I'd love to know what you're doing to resolve the crisis that came mid last year when Germany revoked the immigration policy, and we saw at least 200 immigrants who had come to Kenya on their way to Germany being blocked from going there. Kenya is a hub for refugees, and I believe its fiscal and financial abilities are not as much as Germany. So when they were blocked from going to Germany, how are we going to resolve this in the future so that Kenya does not have that fear that when immigrants come on their way to Germany, they'll be stopped and stranded here in Kenya? Also, just the other question, as is asked, there are critics and experts who are worried about the labor migration on that line of brain drain. How are we going to balance brain drain versus economic reintegration back here in Kenya? Thank you.
Thank you. Excellencies, you may proceed.
Check. Will you start? Yeah.
Okay. Let me start. First, let me just pick up the issue on the peace board. No, we were not invited on that particular initiative. But from our perspective as Kenya, it is important that institutions such as the United Nations be strengthened. Because the whole aspect of peace architecture globally is anchored around the UN framework. And that is why you have the Peace and Security Council, which is a global entity recognized internationally as the bastion of matters relating to peace initiatives globally in terms of what should be the level of intervention, what kind of interventions, and so forth. So we believe that multilateralism is the way to go. And I think if there are issues, it's good to reform the UN rather than create parallel processes if we want to have a coordinated approach. That is the position that Kenya holds on this particular matter. On the issue of what are the benefits that accrue since we signed the structured partnership on labor mobility, I may not be able to give you specific data at this point in time, but it has, the initial position is that we are seeing a more structured approach between those who want to move and take advantage of opportunities in Germany in terms of skill direction, skill identification. So it is not what you call a haphazard migration. We want to use it more positively, what you would call productive mobility. And to attain productive mobility, then we have to have a structured process. That is what this agreement between us and Germany seeks to have. So we will see the results further down the line, and I'm sure they will be positive for both countries. I'm not worried about brain drain. Kenya is churning out a lot of skilled people, and international opportunities are equally important for them, just as much as opportunities locally are critical. But we are not worried about any brain drain at all.
Nor am I. Nor am I. And I think both sides will profit from this very structured process. To tell you perhaps a little bit a ridiculous story I read in my local newspaper in the very north of Germany, where I'm living, very close to the border to Denmark. But we are lacking on bus drivers. And the last 5 bus drivers which arrived there, very, very skilled ones, were Kenyans. So everybody appreciated that they arrived, and they are doing the job very diligently and very good. So it's running, it's functioning, and I don't see any obstacles for both of our sides. So in the end of the day, I think both sides will profit. But it's a structured process. We're not in a hurry, but we need what really to do on both sides. With regard to the refugees, I'm not very familiar with that very case, but as far as I heard, these nearly 200 people returned already to Germany, so that was managed. And of course, the migration issue is one of the core issues we have to really cover both on our sides. So we are in a very close dialogue between our interior ministries on that.
Now, regarding my colleague's remark on the UN system, I can only fully support what my colleague said. We have a peace council, and that is the United Nations. We need to reform it. We need to make it more effective. There are many good reasons to do that, and this is what I understood from the US president in the last hours as well. When he left Washington, he clearly said that this system does not need to be replaced, but it needs to be reformed and it needs to become more effective. And you know, the UN 80 initiatives of the Secretary General, Germany fully supports it. We have, beyond that, additional ideas, and we absolutely believe that Africa needs to be better, more represented at the Security Council that still reflects the world after 1949. So a lot is to be done. We are focused on doing that. And beyond that, I think the Federal Chancellor will have an opportunity to talk to the US President today and discuss ideas that we have. And the answers you asked for have not yet been defined, but we will have a good dialogue and will stay engaged.
Excellencies, if you allow and with your permission, we'll have another round, quick round, starting with Susan.
Yeah, my name is Susanne von Lojewski. I'm the bureau chief of ZDF German. Nairobi. So I have questions to both of you, Your Excellencies. If you look at investments in Africa, as you mentioned, Mr. Wadefull, they're very little, and Germany is not even under the 10 best partners in Africa. So what can you do to encourage German industry to invest in Africa? Moreover, because we need new markets, everything is going crazy in this world, and this is a continent of 1.4 billion people. So what can you do to encourage the German industry to get more risk investing it? And to you, the Prime Minister, additionally, what can the Kenyan government do to encourage the German industry in terms of administration, fighting corruption, and all these things? Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think that is all. You wanted to ask her? Okay, very good.
Yeah, the region is currently plunged into a lot of conflicts, Sudan, South Sudan, Somalia. There have been a lot of bilateral engagements, but we see the problem still persistent. Are there any ways Kenya and Germany are trying to come up with a new approach to bring this to a definitive end as it is currently?
Thank you very much, Excellencies.
Will I begin? Yes, we have, of course, our conversation also touched the regional conflicts, and especially, of course, the unfortunately overseen conflict in Sudan. We both share the hope that the international community is able to pay more attention on this very conflict, because a lot of people are very suffering there, and it's a very dire situation. And as we very much hope that the Gaza conflict will go into the second phase, there will be more international attention on that, and what both of us can contribute to bring both sides together in a conversation room under one roof, we will do so. As far as I understood, both of us have made several attempts, but unfortunately, per now, we've not been effective and not brought them together. But this is very much needed. We need a humanitarian ceasefire as soon as possible in order to be able to provide the people with the humanitarian aid there, and we are coordinating our efforts commonly. Afrika ist für Deutschland ein Chancenkontinent.
Africa is a continent of opportunities for Germany. This has long been overlooked. We have had a greater focus on the north and the south, and have neglected, unfortunately, everything that is in between. So it is no coincidence that I start my visit here with my international engagement on the African continent, because I believe what we have seen here so far is really below our potential. When I talk to company representatives, and that's what I did while traveling here, they also address risks, of course, but it belongs, I told them that it, of course, is part of business to undertake some risks, and maybe we need to be smarter what we can do on the German side. KfW was mentioned. We have European tools. They are not fully working yet, or are not fully working as they should. And so we see, unfortunately, from my perspective, we see that there is Chinese activity before we come in, is more effective before we come effective. And I think this is a lesson we need to learn. We need to become more flexible. We need to be faster. This is also a message I will take back to Brussels with me, because what I see here, and if I'm not mistaken, it applies to many other potential partner countries, there is a great willingness to work with Germany and Europe, because we are seen as a reliable, valuated partner, and we have no other interests but a mutually beneficial economic cooperation that benefits both sides.
Thank you. Let me just start with the investment angle there. As I said, we have already 120 German companies operating in Kenya, not just in Kenya, but also within the region. And certainly we would like to have more companies. As you will notice in the statement that I did read a few minutes ago, I also indicated that there are programs that support the energy and renewable energy sector. So we are likely to see more investment in this space and also in other areas. Secondly, I think it's important to recognize that Kenya signed the EPA agreement, so we intend to take full advantage of this agreement to encourage more trade and more partnerships between Kenya and Germany, and also by extension the entire Europe. I also want to quickly highlight that the Africa Continental Free Trade Area is on the cards, and this is a big opportunity for our friends and partners beyond the continent to plug in so that we can diversify our portfolio of investments and programs. I think the tariff message, as painful as it may be, becomes a clear signal that all countries need to broaden the economic portfolio. And the area that is likely to have a lot of potential for growth is going to be the African continent. And this is where I would pitch and encourage German companies to really look at Africa as a growth area and as an area for serious diversification, both in terms of minerals, in terms of other assets that can be beneficial to economic growth. On corruption, we continue to fight this vice. In Kenya, we have made some very significant adjustments. We recently amended the anti-money laundering law to tighten it. We have put in place the bill that deals with the conflict of interest, so that if there's a conflict of interest, then it has to be declared so that we can stem any insider trading that would give somebody undue advantage. We have passed the virtual assets law to be able to deal with that space around the virtual assets and the trading and the mischief that could arise there. We continue to work with institutions like the IMF. We have just concluded what we call a governance diagnostic, working in collaboration with the IMF, and the findings of this diagnostic are going to feed into our fight against corruption and improving our governance in some specific areas. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Excellencies, for addressing the press and responding to their questions. We now have a group photo, so we'll ask Your Excellencies to remain where you are. We will remove the podium. And then I want to invite all the members of the German delegation to come for the group photo. Those who are at the meeting upstairs, please come for the group photo. So I want to remember the historic visit, and so that is the group photo. So the camera people tell us when they are done. Now, when we finish with that group photo, we'll kindly request all the rest of the members to peel out and leave the two Excellencies, Dr. Musalia Mudavadi and Dr. Johan Vadaful, to take one photo. I'm trying.
Okay.
Okay, so the rest, please peel out.
All right, very good. Okay.
Could you do the handshake for us? Handshake one? Yeah, please.
Handshake.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen. This event is now over. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your support.
You don't need a second job. You just need to know these AI tools.
So this is how I became the most dangerous person in the room. One habit changed everything. I replaced social media with micro-learning. Now, instead of wasting time on social media, I spend